We're ready. Hey, Kelly, what are we doing today?
Okay, so today I thought we'd embroider chopper mittens. I'm not even gonna.
That's all right.
Okay, so here's the deal, guys. We didn't decide. It was requested from our local school district that they wanted some chopper mittens. We're up north. Hockey's a big sport, and the hockey parents want these leather chopper mittens. So we located a source for the mitten, but they wanted embroidery. So we had not embroidered leather before. A little bit petrified, not gonna lie. So we reached out to some other embroidery shops and kind of picked their brain and said, hey, what do we need to do for this? First response we got, don't do it. Second response we got, okay, if you're gonna do it, then you're gonna have the embroidery file digitized specifically for leather to prevent it from basically cutting through the leather and punching it out and just tearing it out of the leather completely. Well, we're always up for a challenge around here, and after ruining, $150 worth of chopper mittens, we think we finally got it down and figured it out, but not before we wasted more money. So the first bit that we thought is we go, okay, well, let's not stitch them. Let's put a patch on. So we got patches made. And the first set that we got, this is out of that leatherette material with the adhesive on the back. Can you see that? This is Angie, guys, behind the camera. So she's helping you guys so we can get up close shots here. So it comes, you can get it with an adhesive or without an adhesive. And it's just heat applied. So you pull the back off and then you would just apply it where you want it, and then you would heat set it under the heat press. So we thought at first we did kind of just a test pair with a different patch, still leatherette material with the same adhesive, and it stayed on the glove fine. So we thought, okay, well, that'll work and that'll be nice and easy and slick. Problem is, when you put the leather under, let me find a pair here, under the heat press, what you run into is it just kind of melts the leather, gets rid of the texture in it. Can you see that, Ange? Can you see the difference between the leather?
Yep. See how it's shiny there? It's like it smoothed out the grain.
This one was heated. This one is not.
Yep.
So you get rid of that nice leather texture, and I really did not like that. On top of it, I gave it 24 hours after I heat applied the leatherette patch on it to just kind of let it cure. Came down the next morning and all of the little edges just peeled right up off of the glove. So that was not going to work. So we went to the next step, which we thought, all right, well, we've spent about $300 and a bunch of patches for these mittens. Let's try and use them. Next problem we ran into, if we did it like an applique and we hooped the glove on the embroidery machine, and then we had our stitch laid down, that we could just do a running kind of stitch around the inside of this patch and tack it down onto the glove so we wouldn't have to worry that it's going to lift and come off. Well, here's the next problem you run into with that. We spent $400 and some from HoopTech to get this fancy hoop for our happy embroidery machine to be able to slide into the mitten. This is mounted on your machine, and then it will then clamp down and you can embroider as long as the glove fits over kind of the shaft of the embroidery machine. The problem being is once that's on here, it's very tight, and now it's moving and the glove is pulling back and forth, shifting, and this is what you end up with. The embroidery will not line up. You can see it here where the registration is off, and this was all done in this hoop from HoopTech. Don't waste your money on this hoop for something that is not going to give you a lot of room around the shaft of the embroidery machine. So we took this hoop and thought, well, we can't return it. We don't know if we're gonna sell it, if we're gonna use it for something else. We think we've got a plan for this hoop. We'll make a video on that later. Right now, we're not using it. So our next step, we've got our mighty hoops. We knew in order to embroider these, the leather was gonna have to be pulled nice and taut. It cannot move. But how are you fitting your mighty hoops inside the glove? You can't. So we're back to going, are we doing just a leather patch? And let's go backwards for a minute, because this patch, Leatherette has what they call their blue. And this was as close as we could get to Royal for this particular school. Their blue patch does not come with the adhesive. You can kind of see how this patch is more flexible, the Leatherette. This is the Leatherette material, but it's very stiff because it has Stahl's thermal grip adhesive on it. The problem with this, you have to heat this through this patch on the heat press at like 380 degrees, and it still did not heat up that adhesive onto this leather for it to adhere to the leather patch. So patches are a no-go. Embroidery is what we're gonna have to do. So what we did is we just sent off our files, our EPS vectored files, to a digitizer. We told them that we needed the underlay to be lessened so that they weren't putting as heavy a stitch on this leather, and that's what they did. So we had the files prepared specifically for leather, and you can do that with your digitizer. You just want to let them know what you're stitching on, and then they will prepare the file correctly for you. Then what we did is we seam ripped and opened up these leather gloves. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, and we'll probably fast forward through this part so you're not having to watch me do this. But all I did, and I don't know if you can zoom down here, but I went in and just popped a couple stitches out here just so I could open up the mitten, okay? Then I found it was better to have my seam ripper in this way, kind of upside down. And go slow, or pick it out little stitch at a time, because you don't want to cut off a big chunk of your leather and then have to kind of alter how you're going to sew it back together. I do have an industrial or commercial leather sewing machine. You don't need it for this. This is very soft leather. You could use probably just a regular household sewing machine. So I rip it as far up as I can, and depending, if you were going to embroider your logo down here, then you only need to open it up to about here. Our placement is up here on the glove, so I needed to open this up higher. So I opened each one up, and then I took my mighty hoop.
Hey Kelly, why do you put the your logo up a little bit higher?
Okay, so we put it up higher, and where did I put that other glove? Because what we found, and they have them on, is we did not want it across the knuckles where they're bending and using the glove the most. So we wanted it in a spot where it's not going to be pulled and tugged on. And if it were down here, it's going to get bent by the fingers, and it's just going to wear on that embroidery, or if you did an applique or anything, it's going to get worn more. So our placement, it was best, and everything we saw online, these gloves were always lasered. Our customer did not want these lasered. They wanted color. So that's what we were doing for them. They just couldn't find anybody to do them, and we took it on and had to figure out how to do it. So that's why we put the logo right here.
Perfect.
Okay, so now when you get it opened up, and what I was doing is I was using my embroidery table to just kind of lay out the glove. I used a cutaway. I don't care what size. I've got two pieces here. This, you're gonna cut it away and it's gonna stay inside the glove. To me, because of the leather just being kind of frail, I wanted a heavier, just thicker stabilizer to kind of hold everything together and to help when it was hooped to really hold that nice and steady and help stabilize those stitches when it was going in the leather. So what I did is I just laid it out like this, slid my hoop under there, tried to go up as high as I could, and I'm gonna move it back here a little bit so I can have it closer to me. So I had it away from me like this. This is just how I found it the easiest. However you wanna hoop it, you hoop it. This was just the easiest process for me, where I was able to hoop it the same with all of the pairs that we were doing. Then I take my mighty hoop and I don't let it snap, and I just kind of press it back and hold it and push it down. When you get the wrinkles in it like that, because it's kind of, they've got elastic up in here around the wrist, you can just pull it up and just kind of stretch it out and lay it back down. And then you'll get that, you'll get it worked in there where you'll get it nice and straight. And that's how I hooped it. So then when it went on to the embroidery machine, these, by the way, these are bad versions. You'll see the picture at the top of the ones that we actually completed that turned out well. These were heated first with these patches that were on here. And then we had to reheat these to try and peel all these patches off and save these very expensive mittens. So that's why I'd say stay away from this. Go straight to the embroidery. Honestly, you saw how quick it was to just open this glove up to sew it back. Once you've embroidered the mitten, pop it out of your hoop, cut your backing down. I left probably, I mean, like you're normally embroidering, you know, just cut your square out around there and get rid of your excess material. And then I just laid it down and I started upside down at the thumb so that I could just get past that, because it's very thin right there. And guys, I went through and just did this and pulled the thread out. I don't pin it because you'll leave hole marks in the leather. So this is the most time consuming part. You're just going to line your leather back up, put it under the machine, and follow your stitch line that you had before. And you're just gonna go all the way around. And that took me, what would you say, Ange, was it like a minute?
If that.
Yeah.
It went really quick.
So it was like, you saw how quick it was to take it apart, to embroider inside. This is like the 4-inch mighty hoop. I wouldn't recommend anything bigger than that, because you're not gonna be able to embroider in a bigger field than that anyway. But, so it's the 4-inch mighty hoop. So to tear it apart, you've got 30 seconds to take it apart. It was probably about a minute to stitch the ER or the R, and then cut the backing and sew it back together, less than a minute. So really, they would not have taken us that long if we wouldn't have made all of the mistakes that we're trying to help you not do if you decide to take these on. But so there is a way now that you can embroider chopper on heat pressing. Sorry guys, or the camera shut off on us, but heat pressing, don't heat press your leather. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos out there when I was trying to see if anybody had embroidered these, and they were doing heat pressing vinyl, HTV and stuff on vest and bags and stuff. And honestly, I can't say that I would ever recommend doing that, just because I feel like the material going on to leather needs to be of the same quality as the leather. And I work with HTV a lot, and I would never want to put HTV on a leather mitten. A leather vest, anything, I just wouldn't. I feel like somebody that's paying the money for nice leather is going to be a little upset that that's the material that got put onto their leather garment. Mm-hmm. So, patches, another person said like patches versus like the leatherette. You could have a patch made and then still hoop it with this. You'd still have to open it up because you're not going to fit your cup here, but you could, to eliminate having a heavy stitch on here, you could have a patch made and then do it like an applique and just have a stitch file made to stitch down the patch just around the outside. That would eliminate having such a heavy stitch count in that leather. This was the other thing too, like when you put it under the heat press, you can probably see this where the patch was. Can you zoom in on that one if it's under the light here? You can see where it removed the finish of the leather.
Yep.
So don't waste your time and money doing that. So don't heat the leather. Don't use leatherette or the Stahl's thermofilm, any of that on this particular material. Don't waste your 500 bucks on a HoopTech hoop. Like, the only thing that we really think that we might be able to use this for, I don't even know if we can use it for socks because the socks are so tight around the top. I don't think that's going to work because of
stretching out the elastic.
Yeah, we tried to do these guys. This is exactly what we bought this hoop for, and it was to do a bunch of these. And when you stretch that and you put it over, let's go over to the machine so we can kind of show them what I'm talking about. These arms come off your machine and you use those bolts, and this gets mounted in place. Okay, so now when you open this up, you'll slide your mitten or your glove on here, and it's got to go over this. So now then you lock it back down. And I'm not going to take my machine apart, guys, but this is just kind of giving you an idea. So now when this head is moving back and forth and it's stitching this, okay, this isn't moving, but this, your glove, leather or this knit, will just get pushed. It'll slide with this motion back and forth like this. And you'll completely lose all of your registration because this is not going to hold it. You have to use your mighty hoop. So that's why I'm like, if it's fitting tight around here, don't do this. It's not going to work. You're just going to ruin your glove, and all your registration's going to be off. And it's going to stitch horribly. So the only thing that we think will come in handy for this hoop, so that we haven't just taken a total loss on it and could make it worthwhile keeping, is we were talking about using it because we can put a sweatshirt in here and embroidering some stuff inside here where this will be loose enough around the throat of the machine, and that would stitch fine. But for this kind of stuff, no. Okay, so that's the negative on this spendy piece of equipment. And there's kind of your options for doing chopper mittens. So, hi.
Well, hello, Lawrence.
The grandson is here. Come here. You want to say hi? Oh. Okay, look at the camera. Say hi.
Hi.
This is Lawrence. Are you ready to work?
No.
Who's
No.
on your juice? Who is that guy?
A monster.
Oh,
It's a monster.
Are you gonna draw? Okay, guys, so that's it for this quick video. If you have any questions, post them below in the comments, and we'll try and get back to you. As far as like where we got these, the best price that we found, it was Leadstone. And oh, okay. So we're gonna take we'll put in the description, because they were the best price that I could find on these. These are actually deer hide, and they're Sherpa lined.
Lawrence, come here. Let me show you
So
something.
go see Miss Angie.
Get rid of the